1986 World Cup in Mexico. I was playing in a youth soccer tournament in Colorado. We had gone on the road there to where those big tournaments where you play 100 games in 3 or 4 days. And I remember watching Diego Maradona, and that was my first exposure. And at that point, I was a teenager, so it came relatively later on in life. But once I saw it and saw what it could be, I was hooked. Now, did I have a vision that I would possibly be a part of a World Cup in the future? Absolutely not.
It would have been back in the early 80s, would have been tournaments back then, and certainly 86 is a very vivid memory. If anybody who's English, is a very vivid memory because of course Maradona and the hand of God. But certainly 82, I remember the likes of Jerry Armstrong scored, and even back to 78 with Mario Kempes and the ticker tape all in the stadium in Argentina. So you go back like that. I mean, I was born in 72, so I can't talk about 66 when England won it. You sort of get those memories much later. So football was always on my mind as a young child, and the World Cup at those times were games that you wanted to appear in. They were always more glamorous than going to watch your local team. They always had world-class stars, and they're the type of games you remember. 74 Cruyff, 78 Kempes, the Maradonas in 86, and wonderful times.
Well, first memory for me was 1982, which I think was Spain, World Cup in Spain. I watched because Scotland were there, and Scotland don't get to too many these days, but it was the Scotland-Brazil game, and Scotland took the lead, and then Brazil came back through Socrates and Zico and all these players, and I just remember that World Cup because obviously geographically wasn't too far from Scotland either, a couple of hours, and that was my first memory really. I'll be about 11 years old at the time, so yeah.
You have to say, where really recognized football was 86, with Maradona, and Germany losing the final, and 2-0 down, coming back to 2-2, and then another goal that was still in my mind. Favorite moment, yeah, I could play two. I mean, 2006 at home was a special moment with all the crowd behind us and all the high expectations, which Germany always have. And then I think losing Italy in the semi-final was a really sad moment for not just for me, for the whole country, because we had such a nice tournament, and we played such fantastic football, changing the style of football to 2002 and 2004, which we didn't play our fantastic football. We were quite successful, but this tournament, it was everything works together. The weather, we as a host, we had such a great tournament, and then going out in the semi was a little bit disappointing.
My favorite World Cup moment would probably be the victory against Colombia, because for all intents and purposes it meant we were going on to the next round, and that was our initial goal. And there was a lot of pressure on us being the host nation and what soccer was in 1994, and the pressure to make sure that we acquitted ourselves well, because how it would reflect on the game going forward. I mean, we needed to get out of the group, and to beat Colombia, who a lot of people had picked, including Pele, to be one of the teams to win the World Cup, that was an upset. And to have that moment when you're running around holding the flag, you grow up watching the 80 hockey team and these types of moments where American athletes are holding the flag, to be able to have one of those moments in front of your nation and celebrate, it was pretty special.
Speaking of Scotland, speaking of Brazil, you're on the 98 team, you open with Brazil, you guys play so well, 70 minutes, Tommy Boyd, right handball? Yeah. It was a handball, shoulder ball.
Hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, very disappointing, because obviously the opening game of the World Cup, such a big global audience, world champions with the likes of Dunga and Julio Cesar and Taffarel and Ronaldo and Rivaldo, big stars. So it was important to be competitive, which we were, especially after losing a goal. I think after 3 minutes, Cesar Sampaio scored, but fought back, and the boys did particularly well. And it was so disheartening to lose, I think, the 78th minute on goal from Tommy Boyd after a lot of pressure from Brazil. So we got a lot of praise from the Scottish public for the performance, but no real gratification in terms of points.
recently you've shifted from being co-commentator, you're one of the best co-commentators on Premier League broadcasts, very blunt, known for your bluntness, to this new role in the studio here at, in Bristol. ESPN moved from London to Connecticut. Tell us about the move, and are you enjoying being a studio pundit?
Well, the bluntness hasn't changed.
No, the bluntness hasn't changed.
The bluntness hasn't changed, and the bluntness won't change. So they'll have to put me in a flight back to the UK for that to change. I'm a great believer in being honest in your opinion and being forthright in your opinion. I enjoy it here in the States, as I think I said to you before. It was a long-running saga with myself and Steve McManaman, the boss, so it was on the cards for a while. Big move, bringing the family, moving the whole thing, so it's a big commitment for me. I'm not seeing this as a short-term commitment, I'm seeing it as a long-term. Football here in the States, soccer here in the States is growing, the Premier League is growing in the States as it is globally. It's getting bigger, there's more kids playing. My kids have gone to school here in Connecticut. They're playing an awful lot of football, probably more than they're playing in England, in the UK. So I understand how big it is, but I also understand it's important to, I think, to do your job properly and keep that respectability that you earn by doing it in that way. And some people will get upset, but that's the nature of the job.
Since you retired, we saw you here in the States on Setanta Sports
doing
some interesting shows, some shows that I think were well received by football fans. But you had done your entire broadcast career in the UK prior to doing the ESPN games with Ian Dark. Talk about the transition, because you transitioned very well to delivering the Premier League to an American audience.
Well, I honestly don't know. I mean, the transition is me and Ian Dark. We're good friends. We had a very good rapport. We seem to, you know, be able to react off each other. We both enjoy, you know, a good laugh when we can, and we have the same sense of humour. I presume that's that's all it is. I mean, you know, some people thought we were very good. Probably some people, you know, didn't like us. You know, I think that's just the way the way it is at this moment in time. You know, thankfully, if we were well received, you know, I was very happy. But the transition from how we spoke in English about the English football, or how we were perceived by the American audience, is probably, I don't know, just a little bit of luck, really. I don't really know.
Favorite moment as a commentator for ESPN World Cup moment?
Well, I get to work with guys like Bob Lee and his hair, and he's pretty incredible. We call him the General, and rightfully so, because he has seen everything in this organization. But even more important to me is he loves soccer, and he is a champion of soccer here at ESPN. So being able to work World Cups and all those different great events is wonderful, but the people that I am able to work with and learn from, like a guy like Bob Lee, I mean, that's invaluable experience, and I got a lot of tremendous amount of respect and love for the man. To come full circle and to come back, not just to play in a World Cup, but to play in a World Cup 10 minutes away from where I grew up, in the Pontiac Silverdome, which I grew up watching the Detroit Lions play in, or the Detroit Express play in. I mean, it was everything. It was huge, and it was complete fate and chance the way that it all happened. But to be able to walk out on the Silverdome field in 1994 and play against Switzerland in that first game, and my first game ever in a World Cup, is something that I'll never forget. I have friends that I grew up with were in the stands, and it meant a tremendous amount to me.